For the terrorism charge, at the moment it is a matter of individuals. Certainly the way the DSI is handling the case, although it looks at the overall picture, people who are charged will be individuals. And I'm not, my own personal belief is that not all the UDD leaders will be charged, because I think each leader has different beliefs and also behavior as well during these events. And for UDD as an organization, I believe that the majority of people who have joined UDD, they're not terrorists. And I've mentioned before that they have legitimate grievances. They have their own political beliefs. They are dissatisfied with the disparities that continue to exist. So I don't think we would call the UDD as an organization a terrorist organization. And my reconciliation plan clearly has to reach out to those vast majority of people who have either joined the protests or are supporters of opposition party. I have to work with them. But clearly people who have engaged in terrorism, who have broken the law, they have to be prosecuted. But I believe they are in a firm minority, a few individuals who need to be dealt with by the law.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for this session. As I think all of us do want to be very good partners with Thailand as we go forward in helping with Thailand's economic growth, democratic growth. One of the things that investors look for is stability, rule of law, of course. And what we've seen over the last couple of years is an institutional flaw where the governments have been forced to use emergency decrees to have the military step in for security purposes when I think ideally it would be the police who would be able to do so without an emergency decree. This isn't something that can be resolved in the short term, but it is an institutional challenge that needs to be overcome, I think, in the long term. And I was just wondering what your thoughts were about how Thailand can go about overcoming that very difficult challenge.
The cabinet has already approved and is going to table a draft law on public demonstrations to Parliament. I guess something that's quite close to a Public Order Act in the UK. My hope is that with that legislation in place, how we can deal with mass demonstrations without having to resort to special powers and special laws will be an issue that can be dealt with more effectively. You will see that we have tried our best to use our normal powers, and apart from the emergency decree we have also the Internal Security Act, which we had used before things became more violent. So certainly it is our intention also that in the future we could try to deal with the situation with an appropriate set of laws, as well as the need to equip our police force to deal with these kinds of situations better. If you recall, when there were mass demonstrations during the two previous governments, and the police were given a more prominent role, I would say that they also had problems and didn't achieve much in terms of either clearing demonstrations or actually avoiding violence against the demonstrators. So this is something that we still have to work on. We need laws, and we also need better equipped police force.
Thank you. My name is Douglas Gibson. I'm the Ambassador of South Africa. Prime Minister, thank you very much for giving us this important opportunity of listening to you, your impressive summary of events and the objectives of your government. I'm sure everybody here appreciates it. It's not for us, of course, to publicly judge whether the government, the opposition or any other grouping in this country is in the right or in the wrong. But I think I speak for most people here in saying that we're friends of Thailand and the Thais, and what we want to see is a peaceful and democratic solution that makes most Thais happy. Those of us who come from developing countries know only too well the difficulties of closing the gap between the advantaged and the disadvantaged. And it's a huge gap, and virtually every developing country in the world faces those problems and wrestles with them every day. Others today have concentrated on some of the more ideological and political matters. I'd like to focus on one item which is really sector-specific, and that's the question of tourism as potentially the largest and most immediate creator of jobs, of income, and of economic growth. And I think that if the Thais had the opportunity, they'd be able to cope with 20 million tourists a year. At the moment, you were aiming for 14 million. I think it's down to 13. Thailand could easily cope with 20 million, with huge benefits and advantages. Now, we have a situation where many countries felt that they had to issue travel advisories and tell their people not to come here. My country doesn't do that, and in fact I was criticized for not caring about South Africans because I didn't tell them not to come here. Well, with due respect to some of my colleagues, I replied on television in South Africa saying that South Africans are intelligent people. They can apprise themselves of the facts and they decide whether they want to come or not without being told by a civil servant like me whether they should come to Thailand or stay away. In any event, I want to suggest that as part of the reconciliation process, there should be a specific focus on tourism as something that every party in the Thai parliament has the same policy, maximise and promote. And that being so, is it possible, for example, to have some sort of a national conference, a national focus on tourism and involve everybody, involve all of the political parties, involve the NGOs who are interested in that, everybody, the hoteliers, the yellow shirts, the red shirts, the white shirts and the no shirts. Invite the whole lot of them and firstly get the idea across of what the huge potential is in terms of jobs, in terms of income for people, in terms of the growth for the Thai economy. And perhaps even get people to go so far as to pledge that in the future, irrespective of what protests and what political action there's going to be, they will all attempt to avoid doing anything that could harm the prospects for the growth of tourism. Thank you.
So thank you very much for that very useful suggestion. And I would just add that not only is tourism a sector that brings in income for the country, but the nature and structure of the industry itself means that it's a very good mechanism to spread wealth and income around as well to ordinary people, particularly if we can bring tourists to the provinces. So I take note of your very valuable suggestion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.